This is Cascade Media Group. I'm James Barfield, and this is a channel that is often imitated but never duplicated. And this morning, I am pleased to have as our guest Mrs. Maggie Ballard. She's the newly elected City Council member for District 6. Good morning, Mrs. Ballard, and thank you for joining us this morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Okay, now I want to talk with you about your election because to me, you ran one of the most successful grassroots campaign that I have ever seen. You ran against an incumbent who had certainly had 4 years of name recognition, had well over $100,000 in campaign contributions, and yet you were able to defeat her both in the primary and in the general election. So I'm going to ask you this. How did you do it? Just plain and simple.
I mean, to be really honest, I tried to talk to as many people as I possibly could. And that doesn't just mean sending out a mailer every day. That's not the same as going and talking to someone. And, you know, District 6 is where I have been born and raised. My parents still live in the same house for 45 years. I've been in my house for like 16. My businesses were both in District 6. All of my jobs have been in District 6. I mean, I eat, sleep, and breathe the district. And, you know, my son goes to school in the district. I did too. And, you know, I am really well connected between our nonprofit, which we have, most of ours are in the district, you know, schools, works, all of the different things. And I just put in the work. I mean, I don't think that I did anything spectacular. I mean, obviously it worked, but I literally just put in the work. I wasn't going to have the money to pay other people to do the work for me. So instead I had to, you know, stretch my money as far as I possibly could and use it wisely. But I needed myself to like go out and do most of the work myself. So I had meet and greets and things in different parts of the district to try to make everyone feel like I was come to them and not just expecting, you know, everybody to come to me all the time. And I just kind of tried to think about what I would look for if I were voting, you know, and raising, you know, my son's 11, I'm raising, you know, a child right here in the core of the city. And I just kind of tried to, it's just almost too easy. This is very common sense to me, but it was effective and it worked for me.
Okay, so were you then well connected that you say in the district? I mean, by that, I mean, had you been active in maybe nonprofit groups or neighborhood associations or whatever, so that you had a connection with, you felt the connection with the people in the district?
Yeah. But I'm connected to like my neighbors. I mean, it's not, I mean, of course I know business owners and stuff too, but I'm connected with the majority of the people, like just the neighbors next door, like the people that know me and the people that trusted me enough for me to earn their vote. Okay. You know, it wasn't just the people with the deep pockets.
Okay. So what then encouraged, because look, you're a political newcomer, as far as I know, you know, you have not held office previously. So what propelled you to initially decide to run against this incumbent?
Well, a couple of different things. Like I said, I am raising my son in the core of the city and he's 11. I want to make sure that there's enough opportunities for him to want to maybe stay here and go to school and start a career and start his own family. And I just don't want him to feel like there's not enough opportunities here to have to go to Kansas City or Dallas or Denver or any of that. But also more importantly, we need a new generation of younger leaders that are willing to step up. Like I can't just keep counting on my dad and all of his friends to be the voters and, you know, do, you know, the work because, you know, essentially the school board was on the ballot. My son's in school. Like that's really important to me. And there is a huge gap I'm 39. My generation, like the millennials, they're not stepping up and they're not voting. And, you know, everybody's busy, but you're not that busy. There's not enough people that vote for there to be too long of a line. Like people just need to really make it a priority. You know, they get out to vote for the president, but the, you know, the local elections right here are the ones that affect us immediately. I think if we've learned anything over the last 12 to 18 months, it's that elected local officials do have, you know, a lot of say, right, wrong, or indifferent, however you feel about the mask or any of that. They do have a lot of decision making, and we need to pay attention to that.
As impressed as I was with your victory, I was just as depressed by the turnout in this election.
Yeah.
I mean, only 15% of the eligible voters turned out for this election. I'm amazed at that. Let me ask you this one question. Did you feel, and I would say you would get this from talking to your constituents in that district, did you feel that the incumbent was vulnerable?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, was there a displeasure that you got with her performance while in office?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
I would say that she, in my opinion, from what I have heard and seen with my own eyes, is that she really caters to the donor class.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that's only a few votes, and that's not the majority of our district, and it shows. And it's really unfortunate, but that is something that's incredibly important to me, is to try my very best to represent everybody, because everybody is equally important to me.
Well, that's one of the most impressive things to me was when I looked at your campaign finance report, I was seeing that your average contribution was $21, and I'm looking at her with all these 500 plus 500, 500, 500, as you said, from all these, and most of are developers and contractors who generally try to buy influence and then come to the table to suck off the public trough. And I think that finally some parts of the city and the voters are getting fed up with that kind of activity, where basically their feelings and their thoughts and their ideas basically have no sway, while some person who doesn't live in the district, but has supplied money, has plenty of sway. And I'm glad to see that the people are finally waking up to that. Now, you, with your election and the election of District 3, you now will have a 4-3. Well, right now, the way it is now, it's a 4-3 conservative, even though these are supposed to be nonpartisan.
Right.
But we've got a 4-3 conservative bent. And with your election and the election of I can't pronounce his name, but in District 3, you will now turn that into a 4-3, if excuse my word, liberal, if you want to use that, for lack of a better word, commission. How do you feel about that?
I mean, you're right. It is a nonpartisan race. Of course, we all lean towards, conservative or, we'll say liberal. I'm really hoping to just bring some good communication to the board. Anything that comes to the council, anything that comes to the council takes 4 votes, to pass. Sure. And I think it's been a struggle, unless it's just consent, just pass a whole bunch of stuff through that people aren't really paying attention to. I'm really hoping to create some conversations. It just doesn't seem like they really get along very well up there. And I don't know why per se, because I'm not there. But I'm really just hoping to have good conversations and not really focus on the parties and more focus on the people, because that's really what it's about.
Well, basically from the public's point of view, what we have now is there is some tension between certain members of the board and the mayor. And I think that at least now we will get rid of a little bit of that. And I hope it's enough to make where we can work together, and for the benefit of the taxpayers and the constituents. So that's what I'm hoping that will happen. Now
I think people are always going to be a little nervous of change, but you know what? The majority of the people voted for me and voted for Hoheisel and voted for Johnson. You couldn't buy the seat. They tried and it didn't work. And, going back to the money thing, I think the public didn't really know about a lot of that until it was exposed. And then people started opening up their eyes and they're like, what? They don't even live in our district. Or there's 16 contributions from the Wygan building,
Sure.
That's not fair. It's not right. But essentially, like I said, it didn't work. So, I just got really lucky. I worked really hard and it paid off.
Sure. Well, it's interesting when you look at campaign finance report, And I always advise people before you make a decision, look at the campaign finance reports, because more often than not, that will tell you who not to vote for. Okay.
Exactly.
And when you look on there, you see one person, one individual who's representing maybe 8 or 10 organizations is supplying funds. You got to ask yourself, hey, what's this guy's motive? You know, is he buying the influence? What is he doing here? It doesn't look good. Okay. So anyhow, I like I said, I was just so impressed with you and your campaign. I just had to reach out to you, and you will take office January. What is it? The first or the first meeting, or how's
they haven't given me a date yet. I just know that it's the first part of January.
Okay, and so I want to ask this: as far as you're concerned, in District 6, what are the main issues and concerns that you want to address?
Well, the first one is mental health and domestic violence. You know, mental health is the root of a lot of our issues. You know, it's hard to talk about, you know, the workforce and housing issues downtown because people are not well. We need to get them stabilized, and we don't have anywhere for them to go, and jail is not a solution. So we need some inpatient places, and we need them as quick as possible. We also need to be asking the question, why are our domestic violence numbers the worst in the state? We need to, essentially they get one call on domestic violence an hour. Like there was over 8,200 calls, and we're on track to beat that, you know, this year. So we need to be asking why, and you know, addiction and mental health, I think you can't address one without addressing the other one. So that's extremely important to me because I know that it's the root of a lot of the issues, especially in District 6. And then, you know, I've owned my own businesses before, and supporting and continuing to support small local business is incredibly important to me. So I want to continue to do that and make sure that the residents know that, hey, if they want to start a business and maybe English isn't their first language, they can reach out to me and I can help connect them. I mean, I know how intimidating it is to walk into City Hall just for nothing, for the normal, you know, pay your bill or whatever. You know, so I want to make sure that they know that they have a voice at City Hall and that they can reach out to me, and that I will reach back out to them. And that brings me to my last point, which is customer service. And by that, I just mean listening, problem solving, you know, responding to every email and call, even if it takes me a day or two. Just really making sure that the district knows that I'm working for them, you know, and not the other way around.
Now, you mentioned mental health, and one of the things, I attended a meeting here a couple of weeks ago that was addressing mental health issues. And one of the things that I mentioned, and this is the way that I feel, is mental health in Sedgwick County and probably across the country is not taken seriously. Funds are not allocated sufficiently. And I can tell you that I currently sit on the Sheriff's Community Advisory Board. And I think the sheriff will tell you right now that his jail has several people in there who are not criminals. Okay, these are people that are in there for mental reasons, and they need to be not in the jail locked up. These people need to be in some kind of a treatment facility.
Absolutely.
But the county refuses to address it financially. Okay, so for lack of sufficient funds, these people will continue to go to jail where they should not be. And you're taking up space and beds that are needed for the criminals. Now, here's my whole situation. What happens, the way I see it, is that you're going to pay up front or you're going to pay at the back.
100%.
Okay? And when you're taking up, it's costing you money to house and feed and provide medical care for these mental health patients. So you're spending the money every day they're in jail, it's costing the taxpayer. Okay, so why not then just address it up front and provide the funds to give these people the treatment that they need? That's what I don't understand.
You're speaking my language. I talked about that in the forum. You know, Wichita State did a study, and it's called the High Utilizer Report. And they did a report over a 3-year period, and like 512 patients cost us over $3 3-year period costs us $56 million.
Mhm.
I'm like, so when you tell me that we don't have money, we're spending it anyway. So
Absolutely.
just like what you said, I'm like, why can't we ever be proactive? We always have to be a reactive city. And we really struggle with that, I think, in a lot of areas in Wichita. We always wait till the crisis happens. So if we could try to get in front of it and provide those services, like we're at $56 million, that's not even including the jail. That's like the hospital, ComCare, and Ascension. So
Mhm.
that doesn't even include EMS, the jail for 512 patients, $56 million over a 3-year period. You know what we could do with $56 million?
Absolutely. We can make a big.
So I get so mad when they're like, we don't have the money. It's not in the budget. Well, somehow magically it gets paid for. And so, that is something that I have harped on really hard in my forums when people are like, we can't afford it. Well, we can't afford for these people to continue to be sick too.
Right.
So everybody deserves services should they want them.
Right. And then as a result of this, we're seeing several instances of people who need professional mental help being abused or even sometimes killed by law enforcement who are not trained to deal with mental health patients. And so, there's too many side effects of this, not taking this seriously. Okay.
Right.
Now, I want to ask you, you, when I look at the way you ran your operation, did you feel encouraged? And I'm sure you did, but after you won well, let me ask you this. Were you surprised that you won the primary?
Kind of. I had never experienced this before. I really was confident that I would be in the top 2, but I wasn't sure if I would win. There hasn't been a primary in our district for almost 20 years. And so we didn't have any data like, hey, this many more people is going to show up for general than in the primary. So it was kind of just, shooting for the best and, kind of seeing where things fell after the primary. But I was pretty confident that I would be in the top 2 of the primary. And so I was really happy that I won. I think I won by like 62 votes. And I knew that the other candidates that did not make it past the primary, like they were all on board with me. So they were going to try to help however they could so that I could absorb those votes.
Sure.
So, and then I just hit the ground running and, kept trying to work hard to earn people's votes. So.
Okay. So the candidates that lost in the primary, did you have any of those people working in your campaign for the general?
I kind of met with them afterwards and they never specifically came to any of my event, nothing like that, but we communicated a little bit. And I saw a couple of them had posted, don't forget to vote and maybe vote for Maggie or something like that. So through social media, I think they were supportive.
Okay. Very good. Well, like I said, I was very, very, very impressed with how you ran the campaign, the obstacles that were against you from the beginning. You overcame them. You seem to have the enthusiasm with you. And apparently many other people shared your view. And another thing that I thought was a bad move on her part was to compare her education with yours and try to demean you because you didn't have a doctorate like she had.
Well, not only me, with the Chung report, only 29% of Wichita has a bachelor's or higher. So, with that being said, these are the same people that she's asking for their vote. And so, and they're very hard workers and there's tons of successful people that didn't go to college. And so, college isn't for everybody and not everybody has that option. And so I think that just kind of goes back to the elite kind of status that, she has this incredible job opportunities, education. That's not everybody. That's not available to everybody. And I don't think that was a good move. Good for me, not good for her, but really kind of embarrassing. It was embarrassing for me because I felt like it was an attack, and it wasn't just on me though. It was on everybody. And what a terrible thing to say, it's really mean.
Well, some of the most successful men in our country, and I think Bill Gates is the first one that comes to mind, does not have a college degree. Okay. But and an awful lot of PhDs that I know of have never ran a business. Have never had to deal with a payroll, have never had to deal with a budget, and have never hired anybody. Okay. So I think that's more important.
Well, the difference between reading how to run a business or how to start a business is way different than actually doing it. And, you can't read about, street smarts and common sense and some of those things. So sometimes people that are the most educated, don't have those personal experiences, it's different. And I would take, my experience all day long. Of course, education is important to me too, but I got the opportunity quickly to buy my first business. And so I stopped going to school and took that opportunity, and it ended up being great. I owned my first business for 12 years. So I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I often say that there's no school in America that teaches common sense.
100%.
So listen, Maggie, it's been a pleasure having you here, ma'am. I really appreciate your taking the time this morning. I know you're busy right now. And I look forward to seeing you sitting on the bench at the City Council beginning in January, as I'm sure that most of the constituents in District 6 do. So thank you very much. I appreciate your time, ma'am. And hopefully we'll talk again.
Yes, thank you so much. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, and you the same.
Bye-bye.
Program is brought to you by the Kansas City Business Association.